Infotainment Talk Radio, a podcast about vehicles. You love vehicles. We love vehicles. Let's talk. Infotainment Talk Radio with your hosts, Doug and Joel. Infotainment Talk Radio.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're going to rock around.
That's right. It is. That's what we're going to do. Welcome. Infotainment Talk Radio. Welcome back to it. I am Joel, right over there. Doug, welcome to everyone listening. We thank you for hanging out with us. And this episode's really cool. Car enthusiast, car club. But first, Doug, how the heck you doing, bud?
Doing great. How you doing, Joel?
I'm doing well, man. Appreciate always being able to do Infotainment Talk Radio with you. I think we cover some cool topics, and this one is pretty interesting. I mean, it really is a phenomenon.
Yes.
It's so we're talking about car club culture this week on Infotainment Talk Radio. So we're going to do a little bit of history and go all over the place and come up kind of into current day. So we do want to take your podcast topics. You can always post that on our Facebook page if you have an idea for a topic for a podcast. We have a little group on Facebook as well, so you can join our group there. But other than that, I know, besides somebody I knew up north, you are pretty sharp with your vehicles. You treat your vehicles really well. You whether you sell them or keep them. But the one in particular, I'll say, that Ram truck. Do you miss that Ram?
Oh,
that
man,
big
I
ass,
do.
that big Ram truck.
Yeah,
yeah.
My big diesel Ram.
Yeah,
yep,
I was wondering about that.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you got a bunch of new trucks floating around out here, so that's awesome to see. And go to infotainment.com if you want to check out what they do there. And I mentioned that because there were some cool car decals.
Yeah.
I saw some infotainment vehicles, like straight up with the I logo. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they carry a lot of cool stuff on there now. Cups and decals for your car and coffee mugs and golf balls and banners and all sorts of stuff.
Well, when you think about it, too, infotainment.com gives you the ability to breathe new life into that vehicle.
Yeah.
Give it a little whoosh, for another 3-4 years, you feel, really good about it. So, and that's what I think, making the most of things, that's really good. But I think these car club people, there's definitely enthusiasts. So let me crack this open here. Car clubs in America are an ever-growing phenomena. And this week we're going to cover some of the history and the culture from the car club, from sports cars to trucks, Jeeps to classic collectibles, and automobiles down under. So that means Australia, I think. It's all on this edition of Infotainment Talk Radio. And let's get into this what I want to say culture club, car club culture.
Yep.
Edition.
Yep. Let's take a look at some of the oldest and biggest clubs.
Okay.
Number one here, the Sports Car Club of America, SCCA. A lot of you have heard of that. It is an automobile club and sanctioning body supporting road racing, rallying, autocross in the United States. Formed in 1944, it runs many programs for both amateur and professional racers. It tracks its roots to the Automobile Racing Club of America. ARCA was founded in 1933 and dissolved in 1941 at the outbreak of World War II. SCCA was formed in 1944 as an enthusiast group. It began sanctioning road racing in 1948, and the rest is history. They do a lot of really, really cool stuff. Regions all over the country. The
SCCA, and we're probably going to be running into a lot of acronyms on this episode. So the SCCA is a Sports Car Club of America.
Yep.
And that is one of the oldest ones, right? What are they referencing here, this ARCA?
The ARC, I think that's the American Racing Club of America.
Stock car series of the same name. Oh, I see.
So,
Automobile Racing Club of America.
What's really cool about it is, obviously it has to do with racing. It's, as I mentioned, road racing, rallying, and autocross. So You can join. They do have regions. They split it up into regions, and you can volunteer for races. Let's just say you don't want to put on the suit and actually drive in a car, but you want to be a part of it. You can volunteer for races, officiating. You can even hold a flag. But yeah, you can become a member by just finding your region and signing up.
Wow,
pretty cool.
Now, are they doing this on legit tracks?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yep. Yeah, there's one coming up in Sebring, Florida, not far from here.
Wow.
And it's, legit track, lights on it.
Dang.
Yeah, come on out.
Wow, you can really get deep. Yeah. Well, I know in Daytona they had that experience at the NASCAR. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that's real. Tom Petty experience or something like that.
Yep, that'd be pretty neat. My neighbor did that. He said it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just going in a car that quickly. I remember one time when I was young, an older friend of mine driving down the highway, and of course he turned off his lights, and we're going like almost 100 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
That feeling there.
The
is
lights
like,
off.
whoa,
Crazy.
What's happening?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, but we don't suggest that you do that. Do not try that at home. That's not a driving tip at all. That's my wild youth, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, cool. So the next one that we're going to talk about is the Antique Automobile Club of America, right?
AACA.
AACA.
Yeah.
All right, there's going to be a quiz at the end, I feel like, of this. How many acronyms? All right, so the AACA, let's talk about that. It's also one of the oldest ones out there. Brings in cars that are even older. And it was started after frustration with the recently created Antique Automobile Derby being so disorganized. Now, wait a second. A derby? That's like a demolition derby, right? Is that what they mean? Or is that what they called a race back then?
I think maybe they used to be, like, I know before the Daytona 500 was built, they used to run those on the beach, as a derby. So
remember when, I'm glad you said that. Remember when you would see pictures of Daytona Beach and it was big enough to have a circular racetrack?
No, that's how they used to race
there
before
was
the 500.
So much real estate there.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's all, built upon, mostly, I guess. Anyway, interesting.
I wouldn't want to be in one of those cars if it is a derby,
Right.
Crash derby.
Yeah.
But
that's what I think of as a demolition derby.
Yeah.
Or they, would get like cars that were already messed up anyway and then just crash them into
buses,
each other.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about that in today's PC world, I would love to, I think America needs to sit down and watch a demolition derby together.
So too.
We'll bond over this, cars crashing into each other. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So, in September 1935, two Derby contestants who went on to become the founding members of the new car club sent out a letter asking other Derby contestants if they wanted to create and join a car club. Many agreed. The next month, another letter was sent out requesting a meeting at the Automobile Club of Philadelphia November 11th, marked the start of the next annual Derby, and they wanted to be more organized. So the meeting was held, and it led to the discussion of the Derby and more monumentously the creation of the AACA. Over the years, the club grew and additions were made to the club's traditions and mission. Overall, though, it's still and will continue to be the Antique Automobile Club of America. AACA.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. If you go to their website, their headquarters is obviously up there in Pennsylvania, and just really cool. It's, if you have any interest in the antique automobile hobby or industry, check them out.
Well, what's so fascinating, right, is we live in a marvelous age. Number one, number two, automobiles they're not even 200 years old.
No,
right? Not even a couple hundred years of this technology.
Nope.
So, when you look at it like that, it can only become more and more beneficial to us to have these vehicles.
Yeah.
So I love that they're commemorating that.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's it's something cool to look into if you're already an automobile enthusiast. Take me, for instance. I'd never owned a car before, like 1993. 93 is probably the oldest one I've ever owned, right?
Yeah.
And I recently was able to get a 51 Chevy 3600.
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about this.
Used to be an old farm truck in Montana.
It's a what? Like a 51?
A 51 Chevrolet 3600.
So it was
It's
like
it's a dually old
my
farm
God.
truck. Yeah, old farm truck, and
It looks like Tater from
Mater.
Cars.
Yeah.
Mater. Yeah, there you go.
Looks like Mater.
From the Cars movie.
Not
Okay,
as much rust, but yeah.
Yeah. And without the, we can't get him to do the impression.
Yeah.
What is it, Russian?
No, so no, it's going to be great, and this is really my first kind of jump
Well, that's
into like
awesome.
more of an antique automobile, and it's fascinating. You know,
What was the impetus of that for you? Where you're like, hey, I just want to restore this.
yeah, well, a buddy of mine works for a big time pest control company here in Central Florida, and the owner of that company owns a big farm out in Montana. This used to be one of his farm trucks. His father bought it years and years ago, and he's an older gentleman, and he was just going to throw it away. And I was like, no, bring that over here. Let's play with it.
Yeah.
You know. So it's
Well,
going to be
that's going
fun.
to be a cool. Well, I will look forward to the documentation of that.
That's going to be neat.
Restoration will be really cool. All right, cool. So, what are we up to here? I think we've got another car club.
Yep. We got another one coming up. Another veteran club we look at is the actual, it's either Veteran Motor Club of America or Vintage. Maybe it changed. But
Yeah, I think what I quickly saw was that Britain had Vintage, and
Britain
it was
had
kind
it.
of a joining,
Gotcha.
just adopting a renaming from
so
Veteran to Vintage.
starting with just 12 members, the VMCCA was founded in December 1938. So another one of those car clubs that, man, a lot of these been around for years, right? Almost 100 years. The Classic Car Club of America was created by car hobbyists who owned and drove cars that were considered too modern.
Yeah.
So these Cadillac and Packard enthusiasts joined together in 51 to create this club. As all car clubs started out small, the SCCA started beginning of 1952 with only 25 members.
Okay.
So, anyways, another cool one. So,
So now we've got at least 3 big clubs out there, and there are plenty of them. I will say, when you think about a modern day, sometimes you'll drive by a mall or a parking lot, you see a bunch of like little Toyotas or Hondas, hanging out, and so there's people with modern day cars that are super enthusiasts. Obviously, Hollywood, mainstream, all of that, But what I think is cool, and when you reflect and look back at the history, throughout the 50s and 60s, these car clubs became immensely popular, it really was a culture. Like we played that song in the beginning, the Happy Days thing. I mean, it really was an American culture.
It really was.
And so it's cool that we kind of, as a country kind of brought that out even more, even though in Europe, there's a vehicle, they still use it and stuff, but there was something more sensationalistic about American vehicles.
Yep.
And, anyway, and it's cool. And I hope that they keep kind of doing that. We got to keep owning that innovation. But, part of this info came to us from Chilton's. Do you ever use those Chilton books? They're like manuals for your vehicles, right?
Yeah.
It's like a do-it-your DIY manual.
Haynes, I think, actually ended up buying them out, but
really?
Yes, I remember back in the day going to the auto parts store and they had the Chilton's manuals, the service manuals there, and my old man had a Toyota Supra, an older Supra, and he was always dinking with it, and I remember having that manual, just looking through it with them. Yep.
Yeah.
But
you got to go old school with those books. But anyway, they still sell a bunch of those
Oh,
things.
yeah.
There you go. So Chilton, what is it? ChiltonDIYmanuals.com.
Yep.
Cool. And so this next article, it talks a little bit about, the short history of the car clubs in the United States. So that's where I suggest that you go. Check that out. And next up, we kind of dipped into this a little bit, but this is an article. Oh, what were our other sources? Wikipedia. There you go. Those are our other sources. And then this ChiltonDIYmanuals.com. Next up, another link that we're going to talk about, rodauthority.com.
Rod Authority. Pretty cool website. Little article here just talking about, some more stuff, dating back into the earlier days. Brief history of car clubs and their effect on auto culture, rather.
Yes.
Throughout the 50s and 60s, car clubs became immensely popular for building faster and one-off looking cars. The process involved chopping, channeling, and splicing different parts to make a wild creation. With NASCAR and the Southern California Timing Association gaining a tremendous fan following, street racing also arose during that time. With street racing came territory. Builders flocked together to create the meanest of the mean street machines in order to race down the local strip. With the desire of speed also came the importance of being flashy and standing out from the normal appearance of everyone else's cars. This culture was pretty jagged on the West Coast, and sadly, in short, this eventually led to some unpleasant interactions, rumbles, and gang vendettas. Let's just say things got pretty messy. Yeah, reading the article, it's actually kind of fascinating what happened, and it's wasn't pretty.
Excuse me.
So, despite differences between the culture of different clubs, there will always be one thing in common: the love that each of us has for their cars. So.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, when you look back and they kind of relate anything like car related to gangs or, just general kind of horseplay on the road, like people were doing crazy stunts and crazy stuff.
I mean, it's almost like if you think about the motorcycles, like bikers,
right.
They have their own little clubs and, same thing with cars as well. Dating back to the 30s and 40s.
Well, I think it's interesting. They're like modifying the vehicles, right?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to make them more aerodynamic, right? Trying to make sure they've got the right tires and everything on there. But yeah, that's an interesting overview when you think about the Southern California days. Like that song we played remind me of that American Graffiti type of thing. But there's also the thing that you think about, like the violence. What was the movie? It was man, I will never know. I'll never remember the guy's name now. But anyway, he was tough Marlon Brando.
Ah.
And he was going into a town. It was in California. I forget what the name of that movie was. But anyway, that kind of was indicative of what you thought people were doing. They were just up to no good. They were, degenerates.
Yeah.
But they were, they're wearing leather jackets.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Tough guys.
Tough guy coming in the restaurant.
Looking at this article too, it makes me think a lot of, even in today, the car clubs today, when, talking about Jeeps or just whatever it is. I mean, people just they want their car to stand out, right? So you do chop them, you do clip them in some cases and add an extra axle and just do crazy things. And that made me think of, each year we go to SEMA as a company, and going to SEMA in Las Vegas right around Halloween each year, you'll see the wildest cars there you've never seen before, where people really do that. They chop them up, move them around, this thing. I mean, they don't even look, they had like a Hellcat motor in a Prius, and they made it looked factory, the hood closed. And, if you think about it, it's just really cool.
Somebody
things
must
like
have
that.
loved doing that one.
No, I mean, that's just one example. They have so many different cool cars there.
So I'm
making them stand out.
The Wild One was the movie. Thank you.
You found
came in
it.
From our crack research team over there. Thank you so much. The Wild One. Yes. Anyway, real quick, aside from that, Infotainment.com, go visit them, check them out. Shall we run a little talk? Let's talk. Hold on. That's for me. Okay, that's it. Oh, hold on.
Are you tired of your old standard mirrors in your 2013 to 2019 Ram truck? If so, come to Infotainment, where we offer options to get power folding mirrors in your truck. We order directly from Mopar. Visit Infotainment.com, where we have the latest and greatest upgrades for your vehicle. Infotainment.com.
Infotainment.com.
Infotainment.com. Visit Infotainment.com, where we have the latest and greatest upgrades for your vehicle.
Try before you buy with Klarna. Buy it, love it, pay later. Get the goods first and pay after delivery. Pay after delivery with Klarna. Buy now, pay later. No upfront fees or interest. Only pay for what you keep. Buy it, love it, pay later with Klarna. Get your items first and pay up to 30 days after delivery. That's smooth. Klarna. Financing available through Klarna. Klarna credit accounts are subject to credit approval and terms. Accounts are issued by WebBank, member FDIC.
Infotainment Talk Radio. I am Joel. That is Doug. This is Car Club Culture Edition. Thank you. It's a moment to take a little sip of water, clean your breath out. At any rate, covering everything, car club related from the history of it. And even though coming out of that, understanding of the kind of a dubious culture of the dubious kind of car culture there of California, kind of that West Coast where it was maybe a little more jagged,
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting that there's still so many clubs out there today, that we're not even that we haven't even talked about, and all across the world, even too, right?
Everywhere now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just Americans, the next article we were going to talk about is we'll just take it abroad a little bit to Australia, and car clubs in Australia. It's
amazing. There's this article, and it's traveler.com.au, and it talks about all the museums. They have motor car museums over there, per capita. I mean, they're everywhere.
Yep.
It's almost too much.
The Gosford Classic Car Museum, which opened in late May, is the biggest private car collection in the country with more than 400 cars on show at any time. Vast warehouse with more than $70 million worth of metal on display with everything from vintage classics to modern supercars.
Isn't that crazy?
Including 35 Ferraris, Porsches, Rolls-Royce, fourth generations of Lamborghini, as well as other vehicles as well. So just like the U.S.
Now, they're kind of collecting, they had some, now Australia, they would always get imports, right? They're not manufacturing there.
Not
really,
that I know
right?
of. I know Holden is, I think it's owned by GM actually, but I don't even know if they build them there. But nevertheless, yes, I'm not sure, but they do certainly have a lot of American cars for sure. It's a big market over there because, in Australia, even today, they're importing American vehicles. They do a process called homologation to change them all so they're, able to be driven in Australia, make them from a left-hand or right-hand drive, stuff like that. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. So doing that in itself, I mean, you got to be pretty in tune with, the car.
Yeah, all of the specs of the vehicle, how it works.
Yep.
You're just flipping it out. And furthermore, I mean, that's got to be a pretty deep, when you think about how many different types of makes and models there are, there's little variances and hills and valleys. So you've really got to kind of take a whole, broad approach and make sure you understand how everything works. You'd have to definitely be like the certified GM Master Tech.
Oh, yeah.
Ninja Black Belt 70,
yep.
Sigma Chi, I don't know. Anyway, but a couple more. I just thought that this was fascinating. Here's a few more of these motoring museums. National Automobile Museum of Tasmania. Right? Cars and motorcycles from the early 1900s through today with 4 themed displays each year. All vehicles are privately owned, which means the collection changes regularly as new exhibits become available. So an interesting thing I will mention is this whole idea of the Australia thing actually came up because we have an Australian customer who I'll talk about real quick that actually bought, so it's a 1947 Packard, I think, was the article. I don't have it up in front of me. But these guys restored this vehicle, and so they kind of retrofitted the inside. They kept the outside so it looked like the classic old Packard. Yeah, the long, sleek body. And on the inside, it was a like from a Buick Regal or something. He said they took everything. And so they created kind of this little modified, beautiful vehicle.
I remember seeing that.
So I kind of bubbled it up over here, but ended up what they did is they purchased from Infotainment an HMI upgrade.
Oh,
so
that was from us.
We caught wind of it. Yeah, we caught wind of it. And so I just wanted to share that little story. I forget the gentleman's name, but I was shared that information. The guy purchased an HMI from Infotainment.com for this crazy modified setup that he had going in there. So on the other side of that, there you go. Anything's possible if you can think, hey, I want to achieve something. So Infotainment.com has a request form online. So if there's something they don't have on that site, just fill out that request form online, and that goes straight to the powers that be so they can see if it's something they can make happen. But in closing, name a couple of more of these. There's, in Australia, the terrain is different.
Yeah.
So they would have like more of like a utility vehicle, Jeep kind of vehicles, right?
You always kind of think of, the Outback, right? They're driving like an old Land Rover without a top. And, that's not to say the whole country's like that, but, that's kind of what you think,
Well, yeah, I think a lot of their vehicles, and even when you look at like, the comparison of Canada to the USA, we've got a lot more metropolitan type of areas, and they've got a lot more wooded type of areas, perhaps. I mean, there's a lot of spread out areas here, but like the guy in Wyoming, is not going to be driving really a Cadillac around on dirt roads and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's going to want a rugged truck.
Yep, exactly.
So it's interesting to see that. But anyway, so these museums, this is all available, again, through this link. Tell you exactly what it is once I bring it up again. It's traveler, with 2ls.com.au, and it's a link about all of the motor car museums. And I guess they call them motor cars.
Motor cars.
In Australia. So
One of the guys in the article said something interesting. He says, cars mean different things to different people. Some people love the engineering and craftsmanship. Others love the memories that come flooding back when they see a car they haven't seen for 40 years. So,
yeah, that's cool.
It's you kind of hit all of them. It's different people like cars for different reasons. And,
you're exactly right.
And that's what can really bring in men, women, even kids, and they all like them for different reasons.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you are in the loop enough to know, but real quick, just a quick aside: are they coming out with a Barracuda? Is a Dodge Barracuda?
A Barracuda. I remember.
Do you know? Have you heard?
I've
seen some pictures, but I don't think
pictures
they're real.
online. But I think they're more concept based.
Yeah.
I think they were talking about bringing the Barracuda back, similar to when they were going to bring the Challenger back in 2008. Yeah, 2008 is whenever they brought back the Challenger. So I think the Barracuda was
something they were supposed to
do.
They're
buzzing about right around the same time.
I don't know. I saw some recent stuff like 2020 is supposed to come out, but then I'm thinking, well, now you can get a 2020 now.
Yeah.
Right, so it would already be.
No, they would have definitely made. Yeah. I mean, they would have had spy shots. I'm pretty big on spy shots and
the
looking
Viper.
Up the
They
stuff.
pulled. They stopped making the Viper, right?
17.
Yeah. So I thought, that was kind of the thing. I thought that they were going to come back in with something like another big muscle car like that brand name.
Yeah.
Well, that was under Plymouth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dodge, Plymouth. Yeah, people don't know what Plymouth is. The Plymouth Rock. The
Plymouth Rock.
Yeah, the Pilgrims.
The Plymouth Prowler. Remember the Prowler? Those were pretty neat. Those things haven't been around. Those things were in the 90s.
The Gremlin.
Yeah.
Those little cars there with the Pinto. Was it the Ford Pinto that was had a proclivity to, if you hit it from behind, it could potentially blow up, right? Because when the engine back there, they just didn't think about stuff like that.
What about the Roadrunner? The Roadrunner was an awesome automobile. That was cool too. Bring back the Roadrunner.
And the Thing. Remember Volkswagen Thing?
Yeah.
That was a cool car, I thought. Anyway, kind of something you would see in Australia, but... all right. Well, cool then. So I think that was a good, healthy episode. Always appreciate to be able to, learn a little bit, and, the history of your vehicle is definitely important to you. And, if you can, breathe a little bit more life out of 15 by putting a safety feature in there like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, go to Infotainment.com. That's what they're all about. So for Infotainment Talk Radio, I am Joel. There's Doug over there. You got any special plans this weekend, man? Or did we hit everything on this list?
I think we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got any special plans this weekend?
I'm going to car shows all weekend.
Are you really?
No, I'm just kidding.
All right. I thought it was worth the... It could have been true. Anyway. All right. Well, let's bust out of here. Hope you have a great day. We thank you for listening to Infotainment Talk Radio, and have a beautiful evening.
Thanks, guys.
Cars. All right, hold on here. There we go. We're doing it.